Hi again. This bonus video addresses the Module 1 learning objective that requires students to understand the Anthropocene concept, which I briefly defined in the previous video. So here I want to give a little more detail. The Anthropocene is a recently coined term, mostly used among academics, invented in Western culture to describe the myriad changes observed in our biosphere since the Industrial Revolution, and notably accelerating at an alarming pace since World War II. The definition I gave previously is that the Anthropocene is considered a period of accelerated human-induced global change. So humans are now considered the main agents shaping many of the geophysical cycles of our Earth. The assemblage of knowledge leading to the invention of the Anthropocene as a concept, a catch-all, for these trends that have been observed include science on climate warming, biodiversity loss, deforestation, ocean acidification, and other environmental challenges you've likely heard of in popular culture or in your other classes. So I'm just going to give you some information about these three. Here's a graph that will help us understand trends in global temperatures to see if global warming truly exists. So this graph shows mean middle latitude temperatures in degrees Celsius over millions of years. So this is geologic time since the KT event. And the KT event was that famous meteorite impact that led to the demise of large dinosaurs. Mean middle latitude temperatures. So mean means average, and middle latitude refers to the location on Earth. It's in these temperate zones that are not at the very poles or at the equator. So what you can see is that the Earth used to be a lot warmer than it is today, and it's been on this general trajectory of temperature decline. We are arguably in the Holocene geologic epoch, of which the Anthropocene could be, if we like this Anthropocene concept, it's the most current part of the Holocene epoch. And the Holocene began at the end of the last ice age, about 18,000 years ago. And this is around the time, to put it in context, when agriculture started being invented around the world. Now we can zoom in to temperatures during the Holocene epoch, and you can see that they were on a general upswing with some wobble. Coming out of the little ice age, temperatures were falling again until about 1850, when in this little red box, see, this is what we're calling the Anthropocene. That temperature quickly turned around and is now on a rapidly accelerating uptick. This image shows two superimposed graphs, one of atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration, the other of temperatures. If you can look through the noise and see the open circles and squares, these are data collected at 3 different sites on Earth tracking changes in atmospheric CO2 concentrations. And so that is going up since 1850 through the present. Superimposed on top of that CO2 data are these jagged lines, which are recorded temperatures at 4 different locations across the globe, measured by 4 independent agencies. And what is interesting about this graph is that the atmospheric CO2 concentration mirrors changes in temperatures. So they're both rising together, leading to the conclusion that one of the main drivers of global climate warming is increases in atmospheric CO2 levels. The other thing of note on this graph is the change in pace from before to after World War II. So if I draw a trend line on here, here's the general increase in both CO2 and temperature until about World War II, and notice the much steeper slope after World War II, presumably having to do with global economic development, allowing more industrialization in new parts of the world, more consumers of automobile traffic, etc., things that dump CO2 into the atmosphere. Next, let's consider biodiversity loss, which refers to the extinction of species. It could be animals, plants, fungi, whatever the ecologist chooses to track. This particular image documents loss of vertebrate animal species, and notice that it's split into different regions of the world. I'm showing this graph to convince you that biodiversity loss is happening at a global scale simultaneously in all regions of the world. It's not something that's only happening in the Amazon rainforest. No, it's happening on all continents. A third manifestation of the Anthropocene is deforestation, which refers to the conversion of wild forests into other habitat types, usually for the purpose of farming or keeping grazing animals like cattle. So what you see in this image are satellite photographs of shrinking forests in Vietnam. Starting in 1973, you can see the time lapses as we go from left to right and then down the 3 rows. And the green is the forest, and notice the forest is converting into this yellowish lighter green color, which is not forest, it's cropland. Here are additional images of deforestation. These are satellite images of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil at the same locations, photographed at different time points, 1984 versus 2018. On the images you can see roads and you can see human development, where in the 1984 images there was more untouched forest intact. So this concept, because it is so new, is still debated within the academic community, not so much as whether or not it's happening, but academics debate on how we should think about the Anthropocene. So here I want to present some logic arguments supporting the existence of this concept versus one that contradicts the Anthropocene as something unique that needs a key term invented to describe these trends that have been observed. The first theoretical perspective is called the anthropocentric perspective, and here I have a quote that exemplifies this perspective. This author says, "The aggregated effects of human action have grown so powerful that they have effectively modified, arguably for the first time in the globe's history, nearly all aspects of the Earth's natural environments." So the man versus nature dichotomy no longer makes any sense because human impacts on the biosphere have become so pervasive, according to this perspective. It's no longer solar radiation or the hydrologic cycle, etc., that's driving geological processes. Instead, now it's the effects that humanity are having on the globe that are driving these processes. So this is the anthropocentric, anthro meaning having to do with humanity, centric meaning focused on that. So the human-focused perspective. Here is an additional theoretical perspective that could simultaneously be true. When I'm revealing these theoretical perspectives, it's just another way to look at the same problem. So from this global perspective, here's a quote. "During the Holocene, the impact of human activities on the natural environment left a mark at local or regional levels, but it is only in the Anthropocene that these geologic transformations become truly global. No part of the ecosystem is untouched. Land, water, air, and no habitat remains completely unaffected. All humans, animals, and plants live in the new paradigm." So this is truly a global issue. All of humanity must unite to solve it. And from this perspective, there's a sense that we have a shared responsibility, all of us together, to fight the detrimental impacts of the Anthropocene. This third way of thinking about the Anthropocene is a downer. I'm calling it the inevitability of self-annihilation. The quote from this perspective says, "The same human ability to alter the Earth's natural environment, this fantastic might of our human powers, is also the cause of ecological catastrophe. So our greatest strength is also our kryptonite. To be human is to selfishly and ingeniously alter the environment to suit our needs. The same capabilities that allow population growth will inevitably tax the biosphere beyond its ability to sustain us." From this theoretical perspective, environmental degradation is a natural consequence of human nature, of human ingenuity and capability. Thus, our self-annihilation is inevitable. Downer. And here's the fourth theoretical lens I'd like to share with you. This one contradicts the idea that the Anthropocene is something unique and special in need of a new term. I'm calling this the time-limited argument against the concept of the Anthropocene. Here's the quote. "From a geological point of view, a few decades is not a unit that is available for empirical observation," meaning that the acceleration of human impacts on the environment, especially since World War II, may be real, but this time scale is too brief to compare meaningfully with geological records that go back many hundreds of thousands or millions of years. So the crux of this argument is that the time scale is too brief to know whether this is a notable deviation from Earth's deep history. Those are some things to keep in mind when thinking about the Anthropocene. What you should definitely remember is that the Anthropocene refers to a recent period of intensified human-induced global change that includes climate warming, biodiversity loss, deforestation, and other observed environmental degradations. Bye.